Hello, and welcome to my channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about a topic that isn't talked about enough, in my opinion. And there's three main parts to it. But basically, the main point of all three main parts is spiritual psychosis. So, spiritual awakening, spiritual psychosis, and mental illness. And how to determine if you've experienced either of the three or all three simultaneously together, because that's possible as well. So, to start off, I'd like to tell a personal story. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this topic is because I've experienced all three simultaneously, and it's not easy to go through experiencing those things, especially when you don't have a lot of people to talk to about it, and most people don't understand what you're going through. So, I've had many different spiritual awakenings in my life. Three main ones. But the last one was extremely intense, and it led to spiritual psychosis and mental illness. I was in a mental hospital for most of February 2024, and it led to me losing pretty much everything. I lost my business, I lost my house, and I lost most of my friends because most people didn't know how to deal with me or what to do, which is understandable. So, if you've clicked on this video, most of you know what a spiritual awakening is, and everyone experiences it differently. Spiritual awakening can come in many different forms, and every spiritual awakening you have is different. It opens you up to a more profound sense of consciousness and awareness in the world that you live. So, a lot of times when we have a spiritual awakening and we don't know how to deal with all the information coming to us, because we are being upgraded at such a fast pace in this new earth, in this new world that we live in, people are awakening faster and faster. It doesn't take years anymore. You can go through a spiritual awakening in just a matter of weeks or a month or months. It really depends on the person, but we're upgrading at a pace that is literally so fast. And so, because of that, more and more people are having spiritual psychosis happen to them. And that is when your body is no longer grounded. You don't feel like you're in your body anymore. You feel like you're outside of your body. I've always been extremely sensitive to that. I've always been a very spiritual person. And when I learned about spirituality itself, it just felt right. And so I love to live in the la la land, or fairy tale land is what I call it, because it makes me feel sane. It makes me feel like life makes sense finally, right? But if we stay too far in that and we don't come back to reality and we don't balance out what we're feeling, it can literally lead to spiritual psychosis. So here's the thing. Sometimes it's very obvious when someone is experiencing spiritual psychosis. Other times it's not obvious, because you can still feel like you're experiencing something that is so real, and most of the time it is. Here's the thing. Everything that I experienced during my spiritual psychosis was so real to me. It was so real to me, but I also believed things that weren't true. So I was delusional in my own mind. And there's different layers to delusion, okay? Because you want to be a little bit delusional, right? That's how we manifest. That's how we bring things into reality that we want to see. But when it comes to other people and believing things about other people, that's where the delusion is not okay. So for me, that's where the line was drawn, where it was like, okay, there's a problem. Leading into mental illness, because mental illness comes with that. And anytime you're experiencing spiritual psychosis and you go to a hospital or a doctor, they're going to prescribe you with some kind of mental illness, whether it be schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, manic disorder. All of those things come with spiritual psychosis. And a lot of people that are experiencing spiritual psychosis end up in the mental hospital, which is what happened to me. And they will just prescribe you medication, and it doesn't actually attack what is happening. It just almost like numbs you. And for me, I have like a 50-50 view on it because I was under medication for a couple months, and for me, it was a temporary band aid, and it did help me come back to reality and ground myself. Because at the beginning of my spiritual psychosis, I wasn't eating. Like, I stopped eating. I was just like detoxing. My body was like, all I want is fruits and smoothies. And going back to spiritual awakening, that's what happens. You become lighter. You don't crave as much of those dense foods. But to a certain extent, my body eventually needed that to reground myself. And the medication helped with that as well. But it comes to a point where I actually just stopped taking the medication. I listened to my body, and eventually my body was like, okay, you no longer need this. So I completely stopped. And the doctors will tell you, like, once you're diagnosed with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, manic disorder, like, you have to keep taking the medication. And I'm not a doctor. Like, I'm not telling you to do something that you don't think is right because everyone is different. But I completely stopped, and I didn't ask my doctor if that was okay. I didn't check in with anybody else. I just listened to my inner guidance, and I stopped taking the medication. And now I'm fine. I've come back to reality. I've neutralized. I've done the healing that I needed to do. And now I am back to myself and figuring out this next version of who I'm becoming. Medication helped with where I was at before, and it was a temporary band aid. Now, moving forward, I no longer need it. And I don't identify with, because I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and manic disorder. I don't identify with those because I've always been a pretty calm person. I just went through a lot of energy at once. What happened to me was not who I am. Part of it was, but also the delusion made it so I lost myself a little bit, if that makes sense, guys. So basically, what I'm trying to say is don't let anybody tell you who you are or try and control you into believing that you're crazy just because you're going through a spiritual awakening. Figure out what is delusion in your own brain, in your own spirit. Let go of those things and know that it's okay to have a spiritual awakening and go a little crazy, right? You can go crazy, but you are not crazy. Do not identify yourself as that because that's what they're going to tell you, and it's not true. You don't have to conform to being normal. That's not who you are. More and more people are going through this, and it's going to continue to happen. I truly believe that this year is meant to open people up, find out who you truly are, and purge all of those things that we've been holding on to. So much so, those things that we didn't even know we had inside of us. Like, I didn't even know I had so much anger and so much rage. But I had to let that out to be able to heal from that and realize that that's not who I want to be. The whole point is we are supposed to trigger each other. That is why we are here with each other. The more someone triggers you, the more you should say thank you. Thank you for triggering that part of me that I did not know that I needed to heal. Thank you. Remember, everything is happening for you, not to you. Everything is here for your greatest good. And each experience you go through, you should grow through. Because that is the whole point. You don't need to identify under a label. because you are so much more than that. You are so much more than your mental illness. Everyone's got it. Everyone's got some sort of mental illness, right? It's how we handle it and how we identify with it. If we use our mental illness as an excuse, we are only fueling the fire. We are only igniting that flame more within us, because whatever we focus on grows, quite literally. I heard this the other day and I was like, it's so true. Stop waiting to choose to be ready. Stop waiting for guidance to show you that you're ready. Being ready is a choice. That doesn't mean you ignore your healing, because we all need to go through it at our own pace. But once you decide and choose that you're no longer going to focus on what happened to you in the past, because it's only now, we're only living in the now. Whenever you think of or re-experience something that happened in the past, it's bringing it into the now. So once you decide that you're no longer going to let those things from the past control who you are now, you choose to be ready now. And that, my friend, is the biggest sense of freedom ever. Much love. Thank you for listening. If you want to see more, give me a follow and a like, because I choose now. I'm ready to start making videos. And I love each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. Till next